Hey, what's up guys? It's MB Big Boy 123. Welcome back to another FUT Finds episode. Once again, I have some packs to open up, so that's what we're going to use to find our players that we're going to use today. So first three players I pack that aren't in the same league and nation are who I will build my squad around. So let's get started. First pack is a 75 plus gold rare player pack. And our first player is Jordi Massip. Should be an easy connection. La Liga, Spanish goalkeeper. Alright, next pack's gonna be a rare Electrum players pack. Hopefully we can get something decent out of here to build our squad around. It's a blue card. Argentina, right mid. Oh, it's an MLS card. Team of the season. That's gonna be an exciting card to play with. Espinoza looks like a very meta card. Argentina will make him easy to build around, so that's a very good get. So we actually got two MLS Team of the Season players in there. We'll probably end up using both of them in the squad build, but we'll go ahead and say Espinoza is the one we packed since he's the one who popped up. Alright, we got another rare Electrum players pack. The last one was pretty good with two Team of the Seasons. Let's see what we can pull in this one. No Team of the Season in this one, but it is a walkout. Oh, it's going to be Trent Alexander-Arnold. Oh, it is what is that, a Team of the Week? Nice, a very interesting animation, but we will go ahead and get him in the squad as well. I don't know what he's doing though, that's kind of weird. Here are the guys I packed. I'm going ahead and throwing in Lodero and Espinoza because I know I'm going to use both of them. But so our three guys are Espinoza, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and Jordi Massip. Let's go ahead and see how we can get the squad built together. Well, here's the squad I came up with. I only wasted one link in the whole squad, and that was one extra link on Renan Lodi. But let's go ahead and go through it. To show how I built the squad, I wanted to start off building around Espinoza and Trent Alexander-Arnold. I ended up going with this McAllister guy. I could have gone with Lo Celso or Lanzini, but I ended up going with McAllister just to switch it up a little bit. And then we have Ben White connected with him at center back, and he gets the strong link to Trent Alexander-Arnold. And then the strong link to Espinoza was Gonzalo Higuain, and he connects to Team of the Season Lodero, who connects to João Paulo. And then we use that Brazilian connection to add in Vinicius Jr. and Renan Lodi. And then we have this guy Joaquin at center back, and he gets the perfect link to Jordi Massip. I'm a little bit worried about my center back pairing, they're not very pacey, but we'll go ahead and play 5 games and see how the squad does. The 5 games I played are completed. Let's go ahead and take a look at the individual performances. Starting off with Vinicius. He was a pretty solid player. He was top 3 for goals and assists, averaging about 1 goal contribution per game. He also had a good conversion rate where he scored half the shots he took. His pass completion rate, on the other hand, was pretty bad. It was the second worst in the squad. He averaged 0.8 less shots per game than the average for forwards, so I kind of wish I had found more opportunities to shoot with him. And his passing percentage was 7% worse than the average for forwards on 5 less passes per game. Moving on to Gonzalo Higuain. He didn't score any goals for me, which you don't want out of your striker, but he did lead the team in assists, which was okay. He only averaged 1.2 shots per game. I think ideally in FIFA you want to at least be getting 3 shots per game with your striker, if not more. My average goals per game was 0.73 with forwards, so he was very far off that mark. He also took 0.8 less shots per game than the average forward. Christian Espinoza was tied for the second highest average match rating. He had the second most goals with 5. He also had a few assists. He scored 5 goals in total on shooting that was better than average by 11.5% for shots on target. His passing, on the other hand, was pretty poor. He was 7% worse than the average there and the 3rd worst on the squad. He also averaged 7.2 less passes per game compared to forwards from previous episodes in this episode. His tackling, he averaged 1 tackle per game, which was half a tackle more than the average, at a 20% better success rate than the average. Looking at Nicholas Lodero, he was the quarterback of my team. He ran the entire offense. He had the highest match rating I've had in any of these episodes with 8.96. He had 9 goals and 3 assists, which was an insane goal contribution stat of 12 and 5, which I was very happy with. Some of his goals, a couple of them came from penalties. I also missed a penalty with him. I also tended to miss one-on-ones with him. He could have easily had 15 goals. He was averaging 5 shots per game, which was 3.7 shots per game above the average for midfielders. He also had 25 pass attempts per game, which was 6.3 above the average. He had the second best passing completion percentage in the team. The other drawback besides one-on-ones for me with him was he didn't contribute defensively, but he more than made up with that with his offensive contributions. Next up is João Paulo. He had a goal for me. He was a good passer with a pass completion percentage 4% above the average and third best on the team. He wasn't very good at winning tackles. He was 16% below the average for midfielders on tackles won, and he was also the worst in the squad. Overall, he was a very average player, but he was a very important player at the same time because he did exactly what I needed him to do, and that was complete his passes. McAllister was a cam playing a more defensive role in this squad because of how my formation was set up. He had 3 total goal contributions in the 5 games. He was a good passer with a completion percentage 4.7% above the average for midfielders. He was a decent defender, putting in 1.2 tackles per game. Overall, his stats were really average, but I felt like he made a big impact outside of what you'd see in the stats, so I was very pleased with how this guy played. Going to the left back position, we had Raynon Lodi. His match rating was 0.5 below the average match rating for defenders, and a 6.16 was the second worst in the squad. He had a decent pass completion percentage of 87.5%. He put in 0.8 tackles per game, which was 0.8 tackles below the average, and it was the worst in my defense. And honestly, I thought I was going to need to rely on this guy for his pace, but his pace did not help him. He could not keep up with anybody. The first of the center back duo, Joaquin, he got an assist, but I don't really want to count it because it was a pass to a penalty, and it still gave him the assist. But anyways, he was an above average passer on slightly less passes per game than the average. He also had a slightly above average tackle rate and tackles won percentage. Obviously, his drawback was the 65 pace. He struggled to keep up with a lot of the players I came up against. And the second center back of the pairing was Ben White. Today, as I'm recording this, he just played his first game for Arsenal, and he did not play very well at all, unfortunately for him. He had very average stats all around. His pass completion percentage was decent at an 86.1%. He averaged 2 tackles per game, which was second on the squad. He attempted 1.7 more tackles per game than the average for defenders, but his issue was he had an 8% below average tackles won rate. And I'm going to be completely honest, this whole defensive back line sucked. I hated playing with them. Moving on to the last guy we packed, Trent Alexander-Arnold. I was really excited to use this card, and he played exactly how I thought he would. He liked to come forward and contribute in the attacks, but he did not make any goal contributions. I did feel like he was coming up a lot though, so I was kind of surprised that he didn't get something in the 5 games. His pass completion percentage was the worst I've had in the series so far, with a 69.1%. I don't know if I was just trying crazy passes with him or what, but he was averaging 4 pass attempts per game above the average, but that pass completion percentage was 17% below the average for defenders. The one bright spot for him was his tackles won percentage at 58.3% on 1.4 tackles per game. That was solid and 12% above the average. Lastly, we have the goalkeeper, Jordi Messip. His match rating was 0.5 below average, and the 5.9 was the worst I have ever had in this series. He made 1.3 less saves per game than the average for the goalkeepers, and 2.8 saves per game just makes it kind of difficult to win games. But I'm going to be completely honest, he did make some great saves, and he also let in some pretty easy shots. But mostly the goals he conceded were not his fault, and it was more an issue of me not being able to defend with the back four I had. Looking at the team overall, there was lots of chances for my team and also for the other team. I won 2 games, lost 3. I scored 4 goals per game and conceded 3.8 goals per game. All of the games were very hectic, high scoring, and back and forth. This is a pretty fun team to use besides the defense. If I could remake it, I'd definitely put a more pacey backline in there, but I definitely think this team could be competitive against some of the better squads out there. And I'd say the best part of this team was the midfield. They did great keeping control of the ball and getting it up to our pacey wingers and up to Higuain so he could lay it off to his teammates as they ran forward. So let's talk about the top 3 players I picked. So first up is McAllister. He was the 3rd best in my opinion. As I said before, he just felt like he made a big impact. The stats didn't show that, but I truly believe he was one of the most influential players of the team. Yeah, I'll say the same thing about João Paulo. He could have very easily been in that 3rd spot, but I just felt like McAllister edged him a little bit. Second best player in the squad was Espinoza. He very easily could have been the best player in the squad, but he disappeared in 2 of the 5 games. If he had been more consistent, I think he would have given Lodeiro a run for his money. And speaking of Lodeiro, he was by far the best player in the squad. Even though I didn't convert all my one-on-ones with him, he was always bombing forward, running off of Higuain and the wingers. He would basically always be in the right position whenever I was looking for someone to pass to. He is honestly probably why I felt like João Paulo and McAllister did so well, because they were able to easily find him because of his positioning. But if anyone's out there running an MLS squad, you definitely need to throw in Lodeiro and Espinoza and give them a run and see how they work for you. Thanks for watching the 3rd episode of FUT Finds. If you enjoyed, please give this video a like, comment, and also subscribe so you can see the new videos that come out. Thank you.